everyone, and welcome to another episode of MovieCast, where we should just probably call this TrailerCast, where we will be talking about, I feel, one of the best trailers of 2025 so far, Superman. I am your host, Dana, Superman that hoe Abercrombie, and I am joined by Mr. Danny. What did you say? Superman is finally dead.
Snyderverse is finally dead.
Snyderverse is finally dead. I am your host, Danny. Mr. Martinez, what are your thoughts on greatness?
Oh, man. Y'all gotta hate me for saying Snyderverse is finally dead, but I'm happy it is.
They're gonna come for you, so that's
I got tired. I mean, so, all right. First of all, love the Superman movies for Snyderverse. Henry Cavill is amazing as Superman, but I got so tired of every freaking superhero movie trying to be so grounded and taking itself so seriously and being so dark and broody. It's exhausting. Like, I need something bright, I need something fun, I need something exciting. And like this, so the biggest moment in this trailer was when Clark Kent is talking and he is saying to Lois, "Yeah, you could do this interview," right in the beginning of the trailer, and then he just leans down and switches to Superman like it's nothing. And I love the difference between the two of them, and that was just like, okay, that's cool. And then he started to get upset because people were mad at him for being good, for trying to help people regardless of what side you're on, regardless of what war you're fighting. Like, he just wants to help people. That's freaking Superman. And that's when I started to tear up and loved this trailer so much right in the beginning of it, because this is what I've been waiting for a long time. Something fantastical, something just have fun with the movie. Don't take itself so seriously. And I could already see that in the beginning of this thing. So like, that's already a mouthful as it is, but like, it's one of the best trailers of 2025.
And correction, it's not the people, it's the government, which made this even extra yummy, because it's always the government. And we'll break that down, because the government's like, you an alien. I was like, oh, that's where Superman that whole come from. But anyway, yes, I completely agree. My immediate reaction, of course, this is like the second trailer, because we had the teaser, the trailer, and then this is another trailer, was I can see clearly. I can see everything. The blue is bluing. The red is red. Mm-hmm. Look at the beautiful sun in the sky. Because, that's how he gets powered. You didn't get that before. There's so much darkness. I'm serious. Who's Martha? Everyone's Martha. Mama. Remember peach tea? We're drinking pee. Drinking pee. Oh, my God. Blessings to what we had before. But I want to say this. This felt like Superman. This felt like Clark Kent. And the two are not the same, which was freaking amazing. Because you talk about that scene where he's like, oh, I'm Clark Kent. And then he goes, Lois. And I'm like, oh, it's Superman. But it's not Clark Kent. And it was in that moment where I realized, yeah, Clark Kent and Superman are different. But they're the same, but they're kind of different. And you can see how he's able to switch, but it's the same person. And then when he had the glasses and he was all like nerdy, and I was like, oh, that's Clark Kent. But when he was Superman, he was like, look up. I was like, oh.
And we didn't get that in the Snyder movies, because Snyder completely ignored the whole Clark Kent aspect and just focused on, Clark Kent existed. He was still Clark Kent, but like, he never had the disguise, and he wasn't like trying to hide himself really. I like the dynamic, the old-fashioned dynamic. Yes, I still admit it's stupid. Like, you take off the glasses, you put on the glasses, and all of a sudden you don't know who's who. But like, it's a comic book movie. You're just supposed to have fun with it. And I just love that, like, you can get he can switch between the nerdy stuff to like the more like strong bravado of Superman, the righteous Superman, like in an instant in that one scene.
You know what that's called? It's an old term. It's called acting.
Oh, that's what it is.
They got an actual actor.
No, don't say that though, because Henry Cavill's a great actor. It's just
He's a great
the
actor.
writing and the direction of the
True.
Superman character they did is just not my Superman.
That's true. I will say this. The kind of stilted writing didn't allow for such range,
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
So, yay, we have characters. We have a whole bunch of characters. We
Yeah.
got Ma and Pa. We got a dog. We got Lois. We got darkness. We got light. We got the government. We got Lex Luger looking like Elonia. It's a lot. So let's kind of go through this. Okay, right from the very beginning. This right here, I feel really sets the scene. Lois already knows that Clark is Superman, so we don't have to go through that whole, oh my God, who are you? And he was like, look, I will allow you to interview me as Clark Kent. I will allow you to interview Superman. Superman and Clark Kent are the same thing. And we end up having right here from the very beginning where it is a conversation ship about he feels that he has stopped a war, right? That happened in foreign lands. He stopped the war. He saved people's lives. But the government, not necessarily all of the people, but the government feels that that was not his place. There are certain procedures that had happened. And within that, it was more of, this is what he says. You come under fire. The Secretary of Defense is looking into your actions. He said, my actions stopped the war. She responds, you illegally entered a country. Ooh, that sounds like, oh. People also forget, Superman is an alien. He's a literal alien, but also, the other term for alien that they like to use, right? So, so I thought that this entire thing was fascinating because he was saying that, I wasn't representing by anybody except for myself. I am my own person. I was representing myself and I was doing good, saving people. And he said, people are going to die. And I was like, oh, Superman, getting angry. People are going to die. And his whole thing about Superman is about the people. He doesn't see governments and red tape. It's about servicing the people and saving lives. What was your thoughts on that speech?
That's Superman. That's exactly what I've been waiting for a long time. And we got that a little bit with Henry Cavill's, but you got to remember during that time he destroyed an entire city fighting Zod, and when they showed him, in certain scenes, it's like he cares, but he doesn't really save people like that, and he's more focused on himself and more focused on the invasion of the Kryptonian stuff. So it's like with this one, at least the trailer, it seems like he's focused on the civilians. He cares about the civilians and their well-being. So that's the way it came off to me there. Like his priority first was the civilians' safety. Everybody's, regardless, again, what side you're on, it doesn't matter. He wants everybody to be alive. He wants everybody to be safe and taken care of. And that's the way it's always been. And I thought that was a great thing to start off with, was to just show his empathy for the people, even though he's not a human himself. You're muted.
Sorry. I love the fact that within the conversation, it reveals kind of their relationship, Lois and Clark's relationship, where there is that sense of playfulness that we've seen between the two of them. There is that level of trust, but she is able to switch on when it comes to being her job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's able to just work mode, and you can see that he is able to be vulnerable with him. And I'm kind of wondering, because he does come under fire. I'm pretty sure there may be a court scene where it's like, you now have to face trial. I don't know. I think all of that is ridiculous because he's an alien, whatever. But she can help him navigate those emotions when he does get on the stand or when he's prosecuted. I don't know if there's going to be a court scene. I'm just
Mhm.
assuming because clearly we see that he comes in right here. So that could be interesting. I do like that. And I do like, again, this is the whole definition of Superman. He is there for the people. And I love that moment that we have there. But kind of before we get to that moment, so after that scene, well, it's interwoven with a lot of different cuts. This right here was fascinating because this shows there's a spaceship that just dropped, maybe in the middle of Metropolis.
Mhm.
We don't know much information about what it is. We do see later on that there are some creatures or something, but that was very quick. So it does show this is a lot of action. Look how beautiful that sun looks. Look at the shadows with the
Look how bright
sun.
it is. I can actually tell that's a red, white, and blue flag.
Right. We
It's
got
not all just
flags,
pasted
huh?
in gray and blues.
Mm-hmm. So then what's also interesting about this kind of moving on is the fact that we have Rick Flag. Rick Flag isn't just like, hey, I'm Rick Flag. Rick Flag is the Secretary of Defense. Mm. So that should be, and it's not Rick Flag, it's Rick Flag Senior, not Junior,
Senior.
but
Yeah.
Senior, so he the deity. Which is played by Frank Grillo. Is it Grillo? I think it's Grillo. I think it's pronounced Grillo. Anyway, Frank Grillo, which we've known from the previous MCU movies, where he was something in the MCU. I can't remember. Y'all gonna kill me. But remember, he
Yeah.
was in Civil War.
Okay.
Remember that elevator scene
Was he
in the
Crossbones?
Avengers? Yes. He was the
Crossbones?
one who exploded. We was explaining. We was
Yes,
waiting
that's
for the whole
Crossbones.
big level
Yeah.
fight scene. So
Okay.
yes. So that is interesting. But remember, this is not like, oh, I'm a new character. We already know that he's established, but he also comes from Creature Commandos, which we
Mhm.
have reviewed, and he's also part of Peacemaker. So we see the world within DC Universe that James Gunn is creating and continuing. Which remember when we watch Creature Commandos, there's that one scene where we see like all the superheroes like dead. Well, we'll get to that many years later. Hopefully, we're still alive by then. But yes, there was a continuation of that world, which I do love. So, kind of moving on from that, which is interesting here. This has been a very debated scene.
Oh
This is
Lord.
when there are some people that are mad. So when I'm not like, oh, people all love him, there are people that are mad at him. Someone throws a can at his head. In the original trailer, he blinked. They fixed it in this trailer. He's not blinking. Was that ever a big controversy for you, the blink or not blinking?
I, okay, no, it wasn't. Like I don't understand why people are so against trying to humanize a man that's so ridiculously overpowered. Because people complained about that. People complained about the fact that he was beat up all to hell and a dog had to save him in the original teaser. People complained that he got mad at Lois when she was questioning him about saving people. I'm just like, so he's not allowed to exhibit any type of human emotions or reactions? Are you kidding me? Oh, and another one too was he covered his face when some sort of fire was blown at him in the trailer as well. So like they're just normal reactions that you have. It's no different than like if you threw a piece of paper at my face, my reaction is going to be like, oh, let me block it. It's not going to kill me, it's not going to hurt me, but it's a normal reaction. So I would assume, going back to the soda can being thrown at his head, it's just a normal reaction of something pinging at his head just ever so slightly. And I don't understand what the big deal is of something so humanizing for a character. He's unstoppable, but he's still allowed to be somewhat of a human. And I don't get it.
And I think a lot of people are missing the fact that, yes, he is an alien, but at the end of the day, he was around humans. He had to train himself to be
To act
human
that way.
like, to act that way. So while Superman may not blink, you know, he has to learn the behaviors of blinking, um, probably of other things as well that I can't think of. But you know what I mean? To mimic a human like behavior. So
There's
I never
a
liked that. Uh-huh.
sorry, there's a line in Kill Bill 2 that I love so much about the analysis of Superman is that Clark Kent is Superman's disguise. Clark Kent is Kal-El's disguise. Clark Kent is the image of what he thinks humanity is, and how humanity should act. So Clark Kent is the disguise, not Superman. And I love that. So it's like he's trying to be human. He's trying to pretend to be something by the observations that he's seen growing up. So why is it so wrong for him to just, move his head back a little bit and blink?
I completely agree with you on that. Now we kind of move on from that, and we have the conversation shift. This is the war that he apparently stopped. We see that there is a war that happens, and what's really interesting is the fact that Lois Lane, he's saying, my actions, I stopped the war. Lois Lane is like, but did you really?
He said,
is it that simple? And he's like, yeah. But is it really that simple to get involved in a conflict that you don't really know of? And for me, I kind of had a little reminiscence thought of, what was the one where Superman turned evil? I can't remember the name of that. They made a whole cartoon that was terrible about it.
You talking about the Christopher Reeve movies?
No. Remember the Injustice? Remember the one with
Injustice, the video games. Yeah. It was a video game, and they turned it into an animated movie. Yeah. Injustice.
Yeah. So remember, the whole thing was like, he was like, I'm tired of war. I'm going to just destroy everything. And Batman was like, That's what it kind of felt like to me, in terms of, yes, war is terrible. Yes, war is awful, but there's so many complications to wars and the intricacies of it. War could be, we're finally rising against our oppressors. You know what I mean? So I think that when she says, did you really stop a war? Or did you just get involved in something you should have never got involved in? Did you make things worse? So I like the fact that that kind of does come into play with that. And then we see here with this lovely, oh, no, it is not showing. Do you see the photo?
There you go.
Okay. So here we have which is lovely. This is where we get into the whole, you entered the country illegally. And we see that he's been arrested by Rick Flag. The person in the mask, do we have a name? I don't think that he's been named.
He hasn't been named, but judging off of his costume, people are assuming he's Ultraman, which is a Superman clone. But also people are assuming that it's probably Jesus Christ, what's his name? The guy that can morph into any type of material. Oh man.
Oh, isn't he like Metamorphosis?
Metamorpho, yes, Metamorpho.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we have him. So what's interesting, Ultraman, from my understanding, he's from Earth 3. From the comics. The woman here is the engineer.
Yes.
Who plays, she's a huge part in the trailer, and we'll get more into her. And then we have, so the engineer is, and then we have, I think that those are just regular soldiers. So Rick Flag Sr., we have like a Metamorpho, or maybe, and then we have the execute. Did I say execute? The engineer, sorry. And they're bringing him in. Obviously, it was probably the engineer and Ultraman that brought him in, which goes back to that original first trailer that we saw. Was like, who is he fighting in the middle of a stadium? It's probably Ultraman as well. So they're the ones who brought him in. Obviously, Rick Flag Sr. can't really do anything at this point, but be a face of something. So they do the whole perp walk situation with him. And that, to me, is very fascinating. We'll get back into the Ultraman. Then what seems to be interesting, this, what is it called? Let me see if I can find the right shot. We see him here. That obviously is Ultraman. I like the fact that we see the power. You have Ultraman, and we see how his face is literally halfway into the ground right there. And then we see, this is the destruction that was done by it's called, they say it's a new character, the Hammer of Barovia. And and I believe Barovia was the country that Superman entered to stop the war. And Barovia was from Creature Commandos on the screen when they showed there was a war, unless I'm completely wrong. But I strongly believe that that is where we get that character from. So my question that suddenly popped into my head, do you feel that we're getting a little MCU-ish in terms of you have to watch one thing in order to understand the other one?
No, I don't think so. I think James Gunn's doing a good job of keeping them separate, but aware of all the other things that are going on. I 100% don't feel like I need to watch Creature Commandos in order to understand Peacemaker. I don't have to watch Peacemaker to understand Superman. I don't have to watch any of this stuff to understand it, but they're still living in that world, which I really like. Yeah, that answers that question.
Well, yes, I think you can establish Barovia on either one, and it doesn't really have to come into play. I feel like maybe they're going to use Creature Commandos as Easter eggs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it doesn't have to be like homework. We're tired of homework.
Right.
So that is the plus here. And then kind of moving on from that, we see this huge destruction that is done by a kaiju. So we get kaijus, we get a lot of different other kind of elements at play. This right here, this is the Hammer of Barovia, I believe. Yes, that is the Hammer of Barovia. He's a new character, so whatever powers that he kind of has is his powers, not from a comic book. That looks pretty awesome right there. I'm scared. A lot of people look like they're dead. So I like that scene. And this is kind of him, the war. This is him being Superman, which is what I love. You see, he's protecting the small human, and also that is just filmed beautifully, by the way.
Yeah.
This is the part here that's fascinating. He gets hit, right? And he crash lands. And this to me was like the whole Peter Parker. What would it be? Spider-Man 1? Or is it Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2, when the civilians help him out.
Yes, when the civilians help him out. So we have him crash land. We don't know if it's because of the Hammer of Barovia or from the kaiju or maybe something else. Maybe Ultraman is like, your mama sucks, and then punches him in the face and he falls down. But
Martha!
So while we have the divide of people who are like, oh, Superman, you suck, and they throw a can at him, what is beautiful is we have civilians that love him and helps him up. And I thought that was just a really beautiful scene that, again, reminded me of the Spider-Man 2, where it's like they found out that Peter Parker was just a kid, and they helped pull him up. Remember, they raised a little hand, and he was surfing along the child, and then they covered his mask back down.
Yeah.
So right there, it just shows kind of like the gratefulness. I think people, what I don't like about sometimes with superheroes is that they just don't say thank you, and we get a thank you. And he's just carrying on up, and he's like, look, we love you. So they pulled him up, and they make sure that he's okay, which is what I love about that. And then we kind of zoom down where he was, he's like, look up, which is always a big Superman thing. I love that part. So that's really interesting there. And this is more of them like saving people that they just kind of shown. Like, I'm pretty sure she's going to say thank you at the end of the day. More people, that's the same one, but you see that big old thing just falling down. Like, it really shows that citizens are in danger.
Yeah, that scene right there. I'm sorry, that scene right there reminds me of another nitpicky thing that people would complain about over a comic book movie, is that like when you see him swoop in and grab her to save her, everyone's like, that's not real. She's gonna die from the whiplash alone. And I'm just like, please, there's suspend your disbelief for one freaking moment and just watch the movie and enjoy it for what it is.
Exactly. Completely agree with that. And then here is we have him visiting the Fortress of Solitude. That little tiny dot is Superman, and that's his home.
With the doggy.
And this one right here, Sir, Crypto, you couldn't tell me Crypto wasn't real. I love Crypto. So the dog has a little action play as well. And then we kind of get to this. So that's the dog right there. But that, I believe, is the engineer, which is made of nanobites, by the way. So he's at his fortress of solitude. Obviously, what we know from the previous trailer is that I forgot what you would call the robots things, but they are essentially there to help and assist him and to guide them. One of them is killed or maybe decommissioned. We don't know at that point because we haven't seen the movie. But it looks like one of them is killed, and that's when we see the picture of him grieving. So this would probably be how the robots are killed was through this fight where they obviously break into the Fortress of Solitude. What's also not shown is Lex Luger is there as well. Look, what did I say?
Luger, not the wrestler. Definitely, Superman's not getting torture racked.
I always do that. I'm very bad at that. But yeah, Jesus. Yeah, so Lex Luthor is there as well as the engineers. And what's fascinating is we see some of her powers, the little nanobots at work, and I'm like, I hope the dog is okay. But her hands kind of turn into little blades. We saw that Crypto is not like just a little rough. He will come in here and fight you as well, which is why he's like, look, Superman, come. We gotta fight. So I do like the fact that happens. And then there is another scene that's very quick, though. I wasn't able to completely capture it. But the robots start fighting, too. They're like, hey, everybody's throwing down, which is what I love. So it does show that he's just getting it from all sides. Some of the citizens don't like him. We have the engineer, and of course, Lex Luthor does not like him as well. They're destroying his little second home, even though that's his first home, but they're destroying the home. Yeah, so we don't kind of know if everything, the timeline of things, because again, it's the trailer, it's a little snippets of things that's very fascinating. So then we get here, he's saving people. This right here, to me, was my favorite. Where he's speaking to Paul Kent. And Pa doesn't do anything stupid like walk into some tornadoes. But what was your thought on Mama and Daddy?
Well, I think the mom's dead, isn't she? In this version, I think she's gone. It's just the dad.
No, because she was like, "Was that not? I'll get your boots for you."
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe it was. Maybe I just could have sworn that like early before these trailers even showed up, I could have sworn that they talked about how the mom was gone, but the dad was around in this version. But I could be wrong. But regardless, I mean, I hope that they touch more on his human side of how he was raised with, his morals and everything as a little country boy and stuff in Smallville. But I don't think there was enough of that in this trailer. Like you saw it a little bit with that boots scene, but that was literally like half a second, and then a little bit of a hug with Pa Kent. I don't think it was really enough to really elicit too much of a feeling of anything. So I really do hope that they touch more on it. So you can kind of get a sense of where Clark or Superman's morality comes from. But I didn't really feel much for it because it happens very quickly.
Well, they do have a point where, they do show Pa Kent basically inspiring him, giving a speech. There is another incident where he is injured. And I would assume Lois brings him home, or somehow he gets home to his own home with, I thought was Ma and Pa Kent. Well, Pa Kent and I don't know, his new woman. And he's on the bed. And it does show that vulnerability and him being with his parents and him acting human-like. So I did like that aspect of it. I thought it was so cute and so beautiful. So it does show he is the Superman, where he's the hero. Then it's like he's an alien who doesn't belong. But then it shows his human side. So we get all three versions of the character. And then we also see him at home with Lois. So even just by the trailer, this seems like a fully fleshed out character. And we haven't seen the movie, obviously, but it doesn't seem that it, and again, I don't know, that we're starting to repeat the same things in terms of he crash landed into Earth. We raised him as a kid. I don't know, but the trailer made it seem like, hey, we already know who Superman is. Here's the story so
I
far.
think we're finally getting away
Um,
from that in general, both Marvel and DC, because we're not getting that with Fantastic Four. We didn't get that with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So I really appreciate that they're not insulting people's intelligence.
yeah, I appreciate that as well. So then kind of moving on from that, we have here with again more action. So it's a lot of action. That's everybody's dead there. Um, him saving people, him falling in the sky, him being rescued by people. It's all the Fortress of Solitude. It's kind of the same thing of which I am at. Ma and Pa. So when we have here, that's a fight scene that does look amazing. That is with Ultraman. It seems like.
No, Mr. Terrific.
Oh, that's Mr. Terrific. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Forgive. It was a lot of characters. Oh my god.
Yeah, it is.
And then of course, and so we have my question then would be,
You muted yourself.
so because Superman is already an established character, do you feel that it's just perfectly fine to have all of these different other characters in it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great to just introduce them, because instead of getting origin story for the Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl and Metamorpho and this and that, like, just introduce them and allow the audience to show interest in these characters. So if nobody's interested in Mr. Terrific, then don't focus on Mr. Terrific in the future. But if somehow all of a sudden everybody's interested of this Guy Gardner Green Lantern, then you can introduce him in other aspects too, which, be it his own movie or part of the Green Lanterns TV show that they're working on as well. So like, it's nice to just introduce them and then let the audience lead you to what their interests are with these characters, or just never see them again. It's perfectly fine. They can easily just be used as guides or tools in the movie. I think James Gunn is pretty good at that, at focusing on movies that have many multiple characters and still we care about them all. So I have faith. You could argue that people would say that, like, there's too many villains, there's too many heroes going on in this movie, but I have faith in James Gunn to know what to focus on the most and what to kind of just tease for future installments.
Muted again. I completely agree with that. I don't think that we're going to get kind of the issue that we had with Captain America Brave New World, where it was like, we don't even know who Captain America is. Where every other character had more of a shine than him. So I do appreciate that. And I think that, he does know how to work with multiple characters. You look at the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, we were able to follow everyone. We cared about everyone. When Gamora died, we were sad because we already knew who she was, despite there already being like 6 characters in the movie. So I think that works exceptionally.
Still muted.
I'm muted. I'm kind of moving on from that. So then we have, of course, Lex Luger, looking nefarious, and he's kind of really upset about the fact that he being Superman, Clark Kent, is basically the world's conversation. He might be a little jelly. He might be jealous of that. He says somehow he's become the focal point of the entire world's conversation. And I think he's also the one that calls him, like, it's an it. He's not a man. He's an it. It's just like, oh, okay, that's not nice. And then, of course, we have more of the Hawk Girl.
That's a cool shot.
That's a really cool shot. Look at sun. We have the light. And of course, here is more of like the destruction that is happening within the water. That I feel is where we get the kaiju. And this here is what I was like, that's not Ma Kent, or maybe Auntie. She's definitely family. She is family.
Probably.
She's the one that was like, She was like, I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God. Like, you know that they have a relationship and that she cares. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be Ma Kim. Why is everyone so old? I don't know. But here is the kaiju, which I thought looks amazing. Um, and this here is the interesting one because this is very controversial as well. We
Yes,
have
it is.
Guy Gardner. We've got lovely bowl haircut. What do you feel about the use of his powers? Because he raises a hand and it's an actual hand. And people were like, I don't like that.
So people complained that, and again, these are people who rely so much on just solely on the comics that they seen or solely on like a movie or whatever. They don't understand that, like, their complaint is that Guy Gardner does a little swipe thing, but the green emanation doesn't come out of the ring and swipe them. It just comes out of the ground and kind of swipes them. He kind of just summons it out of nowhere, and they're like, oh no, that's not Green Lantern. Green Lantern, it got to come out of the ring and all this. That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, first of all, you're being nitpicky. Second of all, this is the way James Gunn wants to present it, and so be it, because there are changes in comic book movies all the time. But also in the comics, that's not a thing. In the comics, it doesn't have to come out of the ring. There are many iterations. There's Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, all those other Green Lanterns. They have their own ways of just in the art representing that they're summoning something in order to show it happening. There's one picture that I saw on the internet that was a perfect representation. Is I think it was Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. He summoned a bunch of jets and they're all flying around with him. And in my head, I'm just like, that's not all going to come out of his ring. It's all just out there in the open. And he just summons it and you go on. So it's just like, it's really not that big of a deal. I liked that scene alone because Guy Gardner's Green Lantern is very full of himself and he's a bit of a troublemaker. And that one simple little swipe in that scene tells me all I need to know about that character. That he swats them like flies. Like he doesn't, it's like no care in the world because he's so freaking powerful. So it was a great scene. It's a good spot.
Absolutely love that. And I think that I love that more because it separates itself from the Ryan Reynolds version that we've seen. And y'all gonna kill me, but I felt that that was a little bit cartoonish. When you have it separated and not with the ring, he's able to do more. I feel where it's not like, let me put the ring. To me, that just works, and it's the way how he has that personality where he's like, you know, you little miscreants, ugh, and swipes them away like that by just using his hand. It's just for me way more personality. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, remember in X-Men, the ones who are able to do telekinesis, and we see that how they're able to just flick their hands. And so even though it's the ring that's doing that, it just reminds me of like telekinesis a little bit. And I just love that aspect. And also it's just a really cool shot to have like a whole hand just like boop, popping out there.
Swat him like a fly.
And it's like I'm not even going to acknowledge your existence.
Right.
He's not even looking at them, and he swaps them away. I'm like, this is amazing. Yay. The haircut, again, comic book accurate, even though he looks ridiculous. But it's just the way how he's walking. Because we've seen in the previous trailer. Remember how he enters into that building? Yeah. And he's still just like, go away. That kind of thing. So, yay. I like that part. So then kind of moving on here, we have more of the fighting with the kaiju, which looks amazing. Look at all that sun. It's a beautiful sunny day that I love. But then it switches over to him also showing Clark Kent. And that's what it looks, looks like he's very angry, but that's when he's being kind of teased and maybe a little bit harassed by co-workers. So I like the fact that it shows like him and his identity of like everyone beating up on him and you know what I mean? And then showing him as actual superhero. So it's that balance between the two that I loved how they showed. And then here we also have a little bit more of the action. This is the stadium thing where I believe he is fighting Uh,
I think that's
Ultraman,
the engineer on the bottom, like
the
the
engineer,
little
maybe engineer or
nanobites.
Ultraman, the nanobites.
Hmm.
And then this is him at home with the dog. Who doesn't love a dog? And look at Crypto. And she's like, "You have a dog?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have a dog." And it just also shows the bond that he has with the dog. So for anyone who watched DC League of Super Pets, I'm pretty sure I botched that. The continuation of the dog. We've already established that. And then here are just more scenes of the kaiju fight. This one right here, this is a queen. This is my favorite screenshot of everything because this is like that's a representation of society today.
Oh
There are
yeah.
buildings being destroyed. There's a big kaiju in the background. Superman's fighting, and she's just sitting up there doing a selfie. I kind of like that. It's funny, but I believe that that is what people would do in the middle of a big fight scene. Let's pull out the camera and do selfies. So, overall, I think that this has been a very good trailer. I think that it's kind of like bettered itself than the other trailer. Um, so Pruitt Taylor Vince, for example, he is the father, and he does say, "Your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are." And we've already established that his parents, his human parents, are very important to him, and they kind of mold Clark into who he is today, and it's why he became a hero, as opposed to say a villain. And I think that they're going to do a really great job, I hope, of showing that as well. And we've seen a lot of his humanistic side um, of him. And then, of course, Mr. Terrific, as I said, as you said, was in here because I completely missed that. What were your thoughts on Lex Luger? Lex, Jesus, Luthor. He was also in here.
I like his look. He looks good, and I'm glad they picked a fairly young actor to kind of portray him, so that way they can do more movies in the future with him at some point or involve him in any other projects. I don't think I've seen enough of him to warrant a response of whether he's a great Lex Luthor. I think he comes off very, very good because Lex Luthor's supposed to really hate Superman. There's a lot of jealousy involved and a lot of xenophobia involved with Lex. So I think it was somewhat portrayed very well in the trailers. So I'm hoping that comes off a little bit more in the movie itself. So I think they picked a good person. And I forget the guy's name. I'm really bad at names, but the actor for Lex Luthor, I love him so much. Like when he played
Nicholas
Beast
Hoult.
and Nicholas Hoult, yeah, when he played Beast in the X-Men First Class movies and Renfield, I saw him in Renfield. He was great. He's great. I love him.
I have to get through Renfield because it was just a struggle.
It was
I never
fun.
finished
It
it.
was fun. It was
But
a mindless
I will
fun.
get. One day I will finish that. But yes, he's just a really great actor. And then coupled with Nicolas Cage, I'm pretty sure it's just very chaotic. But also that I wanted to mention, there's a scene where he is in jail. Superman is like in that jail. Remember, he's like punching the window, and it's like, nah, I'm not gonna break.
Yeah.
Inside that jail cell is Metamorph. That's his name, right?
Metamorpho.
Metamorpho. His hand turns into kryptonite. So he knows his weakness. Is there any form in the comics where he's the one that introduces kryptonite instead of Lex Luthor? Luthor. Jesus.
Introduces it? No.
No.
He definitely uses it, but he doesn't introduce it to the comics as the substance that hurts him. Yeah, there you go. I think you're muted.
I am muted again. So yes, that scene right there, and you do see, he turns his hands into kryptonite, and we all know that is his weakness. He's getting beaten up, and maybe that's when his hand is green. That right there is where the kryptonite would be. You see the little greenness there. Even the dark shots are just shot so well. Again, it's just going by the trailer. You can actually see the dark shots because there were moments in other things where they had the darkness, and I was like, I can't see nothing.
Can't see nothing.
But that one, can't see nothing. One of the other things that I love, I don't know whether or not I have it, is the fact that it would be scroll down more. There is a literal shot of Superman rising from the ashes of, obviously, I believe that would be the battle or the war that he gets involved in, that people are like, why are you getting involved in the war? That I don't know if I have, but that shot is absolutely just wonderful as well. No, I don't have. Well, boo-hoo. So we have that. That's one of the shots there. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of destruction, a lot of chaos. And then, of course, we have, like I said before, Hawk Girl, which I believe is a continuation. She is played by Isabella Merced.
Merced. Merced.
Merced. I believe she was the Hawk Girl in the Jesus, a biscuit. The other movie that had the
Black
Rock,
Adam?
Black Adam. I think so. Don't quote me. But what's Hawk Girl in? Or maybe that was Hawkman. I could be wrong. But she's in it. I really believe that I saw her in something. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Sometimes actors. She was in Peacemaker. That's
Okay.
right. Well, she is going to be in Peacemaker. So she's going to be in Peacemaker. So there you go, season 2 of Peacemaker. We're going to see, again, with the continuity and the continuation of characters. So that should be something there. Fascinating. But yes. So we have the continuation of her character. So that is something to also look forward to. And again, I'm really hoping that we don't have to watch one thing in order to watch another thing. So that should be well. And then kind of just overall, yeah, we kind of showed all of the shots. We have the Justice League, so that's going to probably already be established, so that we don't have to go through the whole thing of the Justice League. Amazing.
You mean with in the Superman movie?
In the Superman movie, because Guy Gardner is part of the Justice League.
I will correct you on that.
JL.
Yes,
so he's wearing a JL.
No, so all right. So he is wearing JG. That's what the logo is on what him, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific are wearing. It says JG. People are bitching about that too, because they're like, oh yeah, James Gunn, he's got to put his initials and everything, and that's what they're doing. So they're not the Justice League. They haven't been established as the Justice League yet. This is no joke. They're the Justice Gang. Yeah, that's why it's JG. So they're the Justice. They're known as the Justice Gang right now.
Maybe not Justice Group. The Group of Justice. The Gang of Justice. Well, that could also go into the whole.
When Superman is involved, he'll probably change it to Justice League. I would assume.
I don't like. We'll see how that goes, because yeah, we'll see. Okay. We do know that it could establish Crisis on Infinite Earths as well. Are you sure it's not Justice League International? Are you sure that was a? This is ghetto. I don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah, I guess. Yay. So like I said, we have a lot of battle scenes. They do show a shot of Lex Luthor just snap. Lex Luthor. I'm dyslexic. Lex Luthor kind of snapping and like screaming into the camera. So he says that he will not accept, basically Superman. So he's snapping. He wants to be the world everything. Like I said, it is Ma Kent for the record.
Okay,
I was right.
Okay.
You're just trying to kill characters that ain't even dead yet. Very interesting. So like I said, there was a kaiju that was in the thing. Also really interesting. The government is trying to regulate superheroes. We've seen that before. There is a shot right here. Okay. There is a shot here where God darn Jesus. If you look at the screen where the kaiju's like, basically it says new regulation set to begin next week. So you see that there? So that may mean regulating superheroes, because things are just a mess.
The Sokovia Accords all over again.
The Sokovia Accords. So that right there is something. Jimmy Olsen is also in this movie. He is part of the Daily Planet. And we also get Lex's girlfriend, the one that was like, "Who is this queen?" I believe that is Eve Teschmacher, who is played
Tessmacher?
by Sarah. Yes, you see, you watch the thing with the thing, and you know the
Ah,
comic books.
yeah.
So she's the one who's like, "Hey," which could probably further enrage
Mm.
Lex Luthor because he's not a Luger. So yes, she is the actual girlfriend. She is a character. She's not like a random person that's like, So that should be that's a lot of characters so far. But yes. And then we have like there's an underground pipe that I don't think I have a thing of, but an underground tunnel of something. And then of course we know that Metamorpho has superpowers that they did show, but it's so gosh darn quick that you would think that it was one of the kaijus in there. So it does, it's more like a laser beam, and then of course when he hits it, the fire and explosion. Maybe. And then I want to know what the house is that it ends up getting destroyed. And it looks like people may actually die. Of course, we have the established relationship before Lois and Clark, kissing. So yeah, what I think that is everything that happened so far within that. And to me, it just looks like a Superman that is Superman. That is a reflection of the Superman that is what is supposed to be represented. So any final thoughts that you have?
Um, I will mention they do a little bit of another Easter egg for another character, quite possibly. In the trailer is a brief shot of a white alien. The white alien looks very much like the model of what the white Martians look like, which are the enemies of the Green Martians, and the Green Martian is Martian Manhunter. So for those who don't know, Martian Manhunter, he's a big Justice League member. So I think that was a cool little Easter egg that they showed in there too. So I'm wondering if they're gonna kind of hint at Martian Manhunter at some point. Um, the other thing was there's one thing that I'm worried about that kind of bothers me, and that's a bit of nepotism that's going on. James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn. I really don't think he's that great of an actor. I think he can be funny sometimes when given the right, the proper writing and stuff. But like he's shown up in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's shown up as Weasel for the Creature Commandos, and now he is Maxwell Lord for Superman. And like, what's going on? Like, this is very clearly favoritism that's going on right now, and I don't think it's because of his talent. I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm just saying he's also not very good either. Like, he's just like meh. And we got someone like a Maxwell Lord in Wonder Woman, Pedro Pascal, which was great. So we got this other version of Maxwell Lord now. On top of that, he has to work in Creature Commandos as a completely different character. So it's just, I don't know. It's a bit, that's the one thing that really bothers me the most about James Gunn right now is he hiring his brother for everything. But aside from that, back to just the movie itself and the trailer, I think I've been waiting for this. And I really hope that they follow this trend a little bit more and make DC a little bit more fantastical, like maybe a future, no Ezra Miller, but a future Flash movie, a brand new Flash movie, much more colorful, much more just fun and fantastical. Same thing goes with Batman. Batman can still be dark and gritty, but you can still make it fantastical and have him fight the crazy villains that we haven't seen in a long time, like Mr. Freeze and Clayface. I can't think of anything else, but like just some crazy and fun stuff. Stop taking everything so damn seriously. And I think this is a really good start to show that. And I'm crossing my fingers that James Gunn continues more on that route. He don't listen to the toxic fans.
A lot of the toxic fans tired of seeing Sean Gunn as well. And I will have to say, I think he's a really great, what's that when you have to do motion capture? Those kind of characters. Mm-hmm. He's great. But physically, there are some issues. There are some issues with the acting. I do feel sometimes that you're giving too much support to those who are your family instead of going out there and actually finding good actors. So I completely agree with you on that. And I think that he is overexposed in James Gunn productions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will agree with that. And now that you said Max Lord, all I'm thinking of is Gal Gadot. Give me the stone. Uh, and here's another thing, though. I think if Ezra Miller wasn't such a psychopath, he did such a great job as the Flash.
He was great. He was great as the Flash. Yeah, I don't think it's deserving anymore because of all his personal issues. He needs to stay away from the camera and fix his personal problems.
Yep, that is completely true, and I hope that they actually listen to the people and learn what they actually want. But yeah, I think overall this has just been a lot of fun. I do want more of that fantastical elements because you're dealing with aliens and superpowers, and just let it be. Not everything has to be so serious and grounded, and we're gonna show the realistic side. He's an alien from a planet called Krypton. What a dog that fights as well and flies. Give us some fun, give us some humor. So I think that we might be okay. Because if you look at kind of James Gunn's previous work, it was ridiculous, but there was also groundedness as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we might be okay. But overall, this looks really fun and promising. We don't know until we actually see it, but it looks promising. And it feels like an actual Superman movie. And the music itself is just lovely. So any other final thoughts that you have with this trailer?
I think I'm excited for the new DCU. Hopefully they do it justice. I'm looking forward to the Peacemaker season 2 and the Green Lantern show that's coming out at some point. I don't know what's going to go on with Creature Commandos, but we'll see what happens with that. And I think they're doing what were they doing? They were doing another spinoff. Oh, Batman!
Well, we got
the Batman Brave and the Bold. Oh, Supergirl, yes, Supergirl too. They casted Jason Momoa as Lobo for Supergirl movie. Perfect casting for that. So I'm looking forward to that one too. And then the Batman Brave and the Bold is supposed to focus on Batman's already older. He's got himself a son, and we're finally going to see Robin again. So hopefully we get more of that fantastical feeling again, because I get it. Robin's costume and stuff like that looks stupid in real life if it was like some grounded real thing. But stop worrying about that. Just have fun with it. Just go with the old-fashioned costume and just call it a day. But yeah, looking forward to projects.
Yeah, and in 2030 we'll probably get the Batman too. So
Batman. God, it got delayed till 2027.
I don't know what's going on. Just give me another season of Penguin. We'll be fine. Just give me that. We'll see. We don't know, but I think there should be another one. So yeah, that has been everything that is going on so much with that trailer, and we will talk about another trailer. I'm pretty sure that'll pop up pretty soon with the Jurassics and the parks and everything that summer is summering. So yeah, we will talk to you later. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, whenever you watch this, and we'll see you soon.